Alright, so let's talk about Eternal Strands. We played for a good amount of time now, and I think I got a grasp on the game enough to let you guys know my thoughts on if it's worth playing. So here's my review of the game. We're going to talk a little bit about the story, the gameplay, the overall loop, so you know what you're going to be getting yourself into, then the good and the bad, and overall the percentage of my recommendation. So this game is an indie game, action platforming game. It's the first one from Yellow Brick Studios. This is going to be their first game, and apparently it's from industry veterans, so awesome. It kind of shows, even though it's their first game. So the game here, the overall presentation is magical fantasy, very whimsical, lightheartedness. You could even see from the graphics and the different types of character models in the world. You know, it's bright and colorful, so it's pretty cool. The world is you are controlling this character called Bryn, and she is a sort of weaver. Now, these sort of characters, they are magical beings who can control the elements like fire, ice, kinetic abilities, and basically the world that you start in, it's a sort of a post-apocalyptic, not post-apocalyptic, but in a sense, like there was a big, huge event that kind of destroyed the home, the enclave of all of these weavers, and now they all scattered all over the place. And they're basically trying to make their way back into the world. A lot of them are mercenaries now, using their powers to get paid. And here is where the story starts. You are one of the weavers who joined this group and found the way back into the enclave. So now you're here rediscovering the sort of things that were left behind from the original sort of weavers, and you start to, you know, fight all of the magical beings, the different arcs, the giant crazy enemies that are here, and you try to just reclaim your home and figure out what's going on there. So that's the overall story. The gameplay here is action platforming. Basically, let's just go over the different kind of controls your character has, right? So you have your basic walking, running, jumping. You have climbing in this game, which uses stamina. Very similar to like the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You can grab on pretty much almost every ledge and you climb up. You can jump, quick jump up, and that will make it so you use up stamina. Once you run out of stamina, you fall down. You got to be really careful with that. The climbing is super important in this game because there's lots of secrets hidden all over the maps, and you can use it to fight giant monsters. In this game, you have lots of tiny little minions to fight, but then pretty much the big sections and a huge selling point of the game that people will be gravitating towards is going to be the fighting and the boss fights of these giant arcs. Now, you're going to be jumping on them and clinging onto them. They're going to be shaking you off. You can go ahead and throw stuff at them using your telekinetic powers to take off body parts, hit certain weak spots, and just do damage. But then a lot of the puzzly aspects of fighting the big guys is once you've defeated them the first time, you then get the ability to see where their weak spots are. So you can be like, okay, their armor has little weak spots there. I'm going to climb and attack there, and then boom, their pauldrons fall off. Then you can just take them out with one hit to get their powers and resources, etc. So that's with the climbing. You also have a weapon-based combat. You have like sword and shield. You have two-handed weapons. You have your bows. I'm pretty disappointed in the amounts of weapon variety. You just have those and not much else, and the controls are very clunky. Movement is so slidey. I wish it was more like grounded and more of just more snappy, but here it's very floaty, so you have to get used to it. And honestly, the game's playable, but man, I just wish it was much more you know, fine-tuned. And also with the combat, they don't really teach you much about like combos, what's cancelable, if you have iframes, etc. You have to kind of find that on your own. Like, okay, you can charge up the attack. There's follow-ups after that. You just gotta learn. But yeah, the bow combat's pretty cool too. You can easily switch between your 3 weapon loadouts at once. Another huge selling factor in this game is your powers. You start with the kinetic power, using it to launch enemies around. It really makes easy work of the tiny enemies. You can throw them off cliffs or something to insta kill them. But if you do, you're not going to be able to grab their loot, so you kind of want to destroy them on the ground right in front of you. But there's a lot of physics-based combat here. For example, if a tree gets knocked down and gets split, or a rock does, you can pick up those things and throw them out to throw them to other enemies. You can use kinetic to pull everybody together and just do a full-on attack. You also have elements in this game that's really cool. You have fire and ice. Let's give you an example of what ice can do. You can simply freeze an enemy, Most of the time it won't hurt them or, you know, do damage, but you can hold them in place. And you can also use your ice to make pathways. For example, you can have like physical ice. You just, you know, put ice on the ground and make a nice little bridge, and you can walk right over it. You can put out fires, etc. So that's really cool too. So you have that for combat, and that's pretty much it. It's very quick, fast, and you're running on maps. Speaking of maps, there are the maps are huge. Basically, the game revolves around, after the tutorial, you know, you learn how to play, you get a hub, and the hub is at the very beginning of this enclave where all of you guys meet up, and you sort of build your base there, and over time you're going to be building it up, and then you're going to be going to maps, one single map, and then you do everything there. You go through the story, you defeat a boss, you open up another map, and then you explore and do everything there. These maps are pretty decently handcrafted. The overall map that you do use is nice to look at. You can see where everything is. A lot of things to collect: treasure chests, enemies. You have a day cycle, afternoon cycle, night cycles from traveling back and forth. And enemies are stronger during certain times, and also are in different places. The game is pretty fetch heavy though, if you choose to do it that way. And I do recommend you take the time to explore, do all these side quests, because you get a lot of powerful abilities. But towards the very beginning of the game, it's gonna feel like a slog, just until you start getting your teleport with your fast travel, which should be fast. But then again, you also have to upgrade a lot of your inventory space. You run out very fast, and this game is heavily based on upgrading your camp and upgrading your equipment and crafting new equipments. And I think it's a really good job that they did here, but I think it's very fetchy. I would have loved it more if they just gave you more of an inventory space just at the start of the game, because having the feeling of I gotta drop these common items to get these uncommon items, but then do I want to, because I have like 10 of these uncommons, and will I find any more of these rares? It'll just take up one slot, you know, that sort of thing. It's super annoying. But the loot that you get is very powerful. At the beginning of the game, your base is pretty much nothing, but then you start to get a forge, you get like an alchemy table where people like learn magic. You could use your abilities to upgrade there, but the most important thing here is going to be the weapons and crafting. So throughout the game, you're going to be finding, if you choose to explore the map or sometimes through the story, you're going to get these equipment sort of recipes, helmets, face pieces, pants, etc. And they all have different stats. They can help you with weight limits in order to like use up stamina more or less, resistance to fire and ice, and, you know, pretty much armor. So when you get all the different resources, it's gonna be like different types. Like, oh, this is a bunch of different wood types, a lot of different linen types, rock types, and then you can switch out interchangeably on the weapon that you choose. So you can have different sorts of items, including weapons. And when you switch out the current type of resource, it'll change the attributes, but also it'll change the way it looks, primarily color. But then it has different sets. Like this one's better for magic, this one's better for just straight armor, pure heat resistance. And as you upgrade the base more, you get stuff like potions and things. So this game has a lot to it, a lot of mechanics, and they all work pretty well together. But I just feel like this game is very unpolished in the terms of all of the mechanics in general. Like everything's there and it works, but every once in a while you just wish it was a little bit more in depth. Most importantly, I feel like the most, you know, what I really wanted more was just more tighter controls. It's so slidey, and it's every time you jump around and climb, it can be a little wonky. It feels like it just glitches out all over the place, unfortunately. But another huge disappointment is going to be just the combat itself. It's fun using your powers to manipulate the enemies, but the sword play is not good. There just needs to be more. You have your parry, you have your attacks, you have your charge attacks, you have your roll with iframes, but it just needed to be a little bit more tight. Otherwise, this is a very first good game for the Yellow Brick Studios. This is like awesome. So I played this on Game Pass, so luckily it wasn't, you know, I probably wouldn't have played this game, but because it was no extra cost on Game Pass, I decided to jump on into it, and it's good. You know, the story is decent. You get to jump in and figure out what the hell's going on here. This is one of those games where it's probably people aren't gonna like it for the most part, and it's just pure single player. I think it's good. So if you guys are interested in this game, I'd say definitely check it out. Let me check out how much it is full price on Steam. $40, for $40 if you get this at the full price. and you are absolutely itching for an action RPG like this that's pretty solid, you can tell that they put a lot of love into this game. I'd even talk about the characters and voice acting. A lot of it's there. It's pretty cool. They even have a little bit of animated cutscenes here and there, but a lot of the times you will see just, you know, character 2D art there and they're talking, but at least there is voice acting there. So it's a good game. They have a prologue demo on the Steam page. I was using the Xbox controller. I was just running it through Steam and stuff. There's a soundtrack for $10. Don't know. Since the game's been out, it's been like a week now and still no updates. If there were any bug fixes, they might have to wait on that because it is through the console, so they might have to approve it all that's before they go. But yeah, once again, the big the big selling points are the giant sort of battles, the huge maps to explore, and the overall progression, just getting new armor, new weapons, upgrading your skills, etc. It's a solid game. That's all I have to say. A really, really good indie game from this new studio, Yellow Brick Games. So that's it, guys. Let me know what you guys think about Eternal Strands down below. And if you're interested, link in the description to my Let's Play channel where you can watch all of that, or come by Twitch where we streamed all of it and other games that we're going to be reviewing. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.